Welcome guys, welcome to my channel NER, and yeah, basically it's me, Ren, and I already mentioned that I want to talk about a little bit onto MBTI, which I don't know how many series I will do in the end. Yeah, no structure. So if I just remember something, then I'll just talk about it. But yeah, basically it's like few videos at least, and yeah, let's go with it. So while talking about MBTI, right, and a lot of people just think that MBTI have like a superpower here and there, and you can know everything here and there, and just by knowing MBTI. To be honest, no. But MBTI, why I like to talk about MBTI is because that they talk about the basic logic, how your minds work. Yeah. And when we're saying the basic logic, we are not saying that yeah everything will just directly make sense, especially when it comes to FETI, like because it's like different kind of like a logic thinking. Yeah, so basically, what is MBTI in a simple sense? It's just that how your mind perceiving informations and doing judgment onto read the information. So, and what's the sequence of it? Like, what is the priority of it? And how they act in the most comfortable way, and when they go into like a much more shadow side of them. Yeah, so things will just shift from time to time, and people will just say that, oh yeah, the MBTI, I heard about it, they will just change from time to time. No, MBTI don't change, and the change is that your focus. So what does the focus mean is that what kind of mindset I'm holding from time to time right now. Am I feeling happy? Am I feeling comfortable? Am I feeling danger? Everything it can just work in this way. And so then when you are trying to understand the MBTI thingy, somehow in a sense, yeah, you don't treat it as something really all knowing, but it will be a very powerful tool for you if you know how to judge. If you don't know, yeah, it will be a mess, totally mess to you. Just like you're asking a kid to use geography. I mean, just random table from economic or like from physics and trying to explain everything. It will be totally a mess. They can use imaginations, and some point they will just have few correct points, but only few, or like something similar that sounds correct. Yeah, it will just eventually happen in this way. But yeah, it doesn't mean that the whole theory was fully wrong in a sense. Yeah, and if you're asking me, if we just differentiate people into 16, why there are so much complexity into MBTI? Why? Because everybody have different experience. Different people, even having a same type of experience, they have different priorities, so they will understand the information differently, and because of the difference, and so then people will react differently as well. Yeah, so it's not something that you just say that yeah, 16 type of personality, and you have two ESFP type of people coming together, and they will be looking totally the same. No, and gender affects as well. I mean, because there's hormones, there's like a community that they are just been into it, and yeah, it's like totally two different world. And even same type of people from same country and same gender, they will feel totally different. Sometimes, but some while you're just looking at the MBTI thingy, you will just find that they have similar kind of like flow of judgment, flow of like perceiving information. They have the similar type of flow, but doesn't mean that they have the same type of conclusion. Yeah, they will have same type of judgment, but not conclusion in the end. So yeah, it's like very interesting part of like for knowing MBTI as well. Yeah, and if you're asking me, do I have any certificate on to MBTI, I would say no. So that's why I say everything is from my own personal experience and what I learned online. And The only thing I'm confident to talk about it. Why? Because I think somehow I had somehow a chance to expose myself and trying to experiment it a little bit from time to time. And it's not only onto the people around me, but also like going, you know, I went to champion and always like my mind was thinking, oh yeah, the MBTI thingy here and there, and how can I try to use similar judgment, similar way, and to make them feel comfortable. Yeah, that's what I did. That's what I did. Yeah. So that's why I'm a little bit confident onto it, but I won't say that I'm 100% confident onto it. Yeah, because sometimes still I have a blind side onto some types of MBTI as well. I do have, and because of those blind sides, so I might still saying something wrongly. I still might put a little bit wrong priority onto it. Yeah, so I'm not saying that I'm 100% correct, but I think it's good, more than enough to know things in this way. So I'll just talk a little bit onto the MBTI introduction. So basically, MBTI come with two main structures that you need to know. First is perceiving, and the next one is judgment. So perceiving is like an intake, and the judgment is output. So input, output, that's how your brain works. Yeah, and you just make a little bit, how to say, informations, yeah, priorities here and there, blah, blah, blah. And even though we say perceiving is like an input, but is that your information input, is it the information coming from yourself or like the information coming from outside? So that's why even though we are our perceiving function, we have the sensing and intuition, these two part of it, we still have like an external sensing, internal like extroverted sensing, introverted sensing. Then we go to the intuition. There is the extroverted intuition and also the introverted intuition. Easy sense of saying it, sensing whatever I can sense. And if we go to extroverted sensing, whatever I can touch, I can see, I can feel, I can smell. Yeah, whatever is something like my now experience, my experience from now. Yeah, so it is like a very immediate way of like of responding as well. And introverted sensing is talking about whatever I had sensed. So it's more onto something that my experience, focusing onto my experience, was the rule and the law that people mentioned it to me before, and I just according onto it. Yeah, that's the introverted sensing. They were also very like focus onto like a comfort zone as well. Yeah, and that's another reason onto it, but I will just talk about it afterwards. Next part of it is we talk about the judgment. So the judgment, we have the thinking and feeling. So basically, thinking, saying that's extroverted thinking, introverted thinking, feeling, extroverted thinking, and the introverted thinking. Extroverted thinking, so much more easy for you to understand. The way you learn, the way you try to structureize things, and you try to make everything logical. Extroverted thinking. So usually it will come with the structure of like when you look at the family tree, yeah, it's much more like that. People is not trying to say that, yeah, this the line of this person, that person. No, they will be like, okay, the first generation who are there, and from this generation, how many kids they have, and what kind of family they have. Blah, blah, blah. And that's come to the family tree is the most basic thing of the for the TE, we call it TE, extroverted sensing. So they learn and they structureize things, and usually they want to solve the issue, because the the question is coming to them, like asking for their judgment, and they are trying to solve it. Yeah, that's the extroverted thinking. And the introverted thinking about it, your own logic. Okay, this is my blind spot, so I can't really talk about this too much accurately. Yeah, but I'll try to mention about it is that your own way to define correct, or we say true and false. Like, but it's not something mixed together with your feelings. So while people having like a very strong TI themselves, they will be having a very strong judgment. And while they making a very strong judgment, intellectual judgment, because their line is no longer structured, it's much more like a whole bunch of like a line, like you are making all the lines just come together. But as long as it's a line, yeah, sure, we can work. But the way they're talking about the whole story, they can be like, yeah, everywhere, just going here and there and just going to whatever world. And sometimes they have an issue. A lot of time when they're trying to explain onto something, the shorter path is that I just talking A, then B. And for them, no. If I want to understand everything in detail, and I need to go through the whole picture of the graph without people asking them. And they will just go like here, then another there, and then they back to the place, and they're like, yes, this is the logic. And other people asking them, can you make it much more simple for me just to understand how to execute it? No, this, that, everything I know how to say about it. Or they will just start another story and go with another pathway, but the pathway is still very long, and other people might get confused in the middle of their narrative. And they found themselves in trouble. A lot of time. I'm not saying that all the time, but a lot of time. Yeah. But somehow, because of the TI, a lot of time they stick together with FE, which extroverted feeling. So somehow they are just making it much more balancing in a sense. So sometimes they sense other people's emotion not really welcome, then they stop. There are a lot of times like TI people will just be like, oh yeah, I'm not being listened. Nobody wants to listen to my words. Yeah, nobody wants to listen to my logic. Yeah, that kind of thing is like happening really often onto it. Yeah, so talking about the the judgment thinking. So next we go to the extroverted feeling. So basically extroverted feeling, just now I already mentioned. So in a good sense, they easily, how can I say, they easily resonate with other people. What do we mean resonate with other people? When people feel sad, they are crying. So they don't need any logic. They don't need to know any reason in the back. For them, they just know, yeah, I also feel sad. It's not that they're acting, but they feel sad. And they cry together because they sense the feeling, they sense the emotion from other people. Especially when the emotion is like very genuine. So they were just much more easy to blend into it as well. But at the same time, because they are so focusing onto the FE, especially those who are having a very strong FE, they usually very kind. Very kind socially, emotionally, and they are usually the people who are bringing other people a lot of like a happiness or like comfort, cozy, yeah. And somehow they know how to use the crowd of people and trying to make the environment is much more like onto the emotion they want. So for example, if you go to the funeral, if someone is laughing, like there's a lot of like kind of reason for people to laugh during funeral. I'm not saying that they're supposed to laugh, but somehow, in some sense, maybe some point, they want to laugh a little bit while they had a memory with other people. Those FE, very strong people, they will feel mad in a sense. Yeah, like why you are not supposed to laugh, but somehow why you are laughing. Yeah, this kind of thing. And yeah, that's why. And usually because they have the TE like as a support for them, so usually they have a very good story to tell as well. Yeah, so it's not like a bad thing for them. Yeah, FETI. So the last thing I want to talk about it for the judgment, FI. So introverted feeling. So what is introverted feeling? In a sense, very easy sense, is that self-value. So self-value, there's also building on the self-morality, my how much value I gain, how much value or the emotion that I can own. At the same time, they are always focusing on to good and bad in a sense. And it is not efficient, it's not focusing on to efficiency in a sense, but they're focusing on to good and bad. And because of it, emotionally, they are really stubborn. Usually, yeah. TI has something similar, but TI is because they're stubborn because they think it's right. And for the FI people, introverted feeling, they stubborn because they feel it is right. So one is thinking, one is feeling. Yeah. So with feelings, so usually if you go against their thinking logic or like the way they think that the morally correct thingy, then usually they are really mad about it, and it's like totally normal. And actually, they doesn't mean to really offensive, but somehow they feel offended in an easy sense. Yeah. So FI type of people, yeah. Usually it just making people a little bit feel like, yeah, they have a lot of confidence. Usually, because their emotion is not easily being affected by other people, but their emotion come from themselves. So they also really focusing onto something like, okay, is this emotion true or false? Like, just for you all to know, when the FI people looking at FE people suddenly talk about something that they experienced together, if he knew it's not that fantastic, but that person, the FE type of person, because they want to like make everybody comfortable and to make everybody like to understand the good part of the event. Like every type of people, they were just like, oh yeah, it's everything good, everything fine, and they will still say it with a laugh. It's not that they are not genuine, but just that that's how their logic work. And the FI type of people, usually when they saw this, they would be like, yeah, fake, or like he or she is not allowed to say that the real things. Yeah. So it's something about this kind of logic. Yeah. So basically, we have the perceiving functions, then the judgment functions. Yeah. So next episode about the MBTI. Yeah, I want to talk about like how we do namings onto it, and yeah, I'll talk about the namings. Then I'll talk about other small details onto it. Yeah. So see you then. Peace.